Hello. I think we did it. I think we're live.
Wow.
Can you all hear us? I can't see your comments. I forgot to switch over to the comments tab. It's not great. Well, hello. How are you? Good evening. Good afternoon. I recognize that it's not exactly the best time of day to do a live stream, but it's been a busy. It's been busy. It's been busy, right?
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I'm busy preparing for
Yes.
Spring one. Yeah, that's coming. Is that next week? I can't.
Yes. Next
Oh
week.
God. Oh God. Too much. Oh, hello. Yeah, it's coming next week. I thought it would be like next month or year or something. It's just I've known it's coming, and I've been excited, but I've also been like, there's just a lot of work,
Yeah.
And the worst part is I've done a lot of work already for the show, but I don't feel like it's enough. I feel like there's something I'm missing or something's going to go wrong. I've looked at all my lists in terms of the things that I need to do to make this successful for me. According to every list I've got, I'm good, but I feel like there's something else I'm missing. What about you? Are you ready?
For the spring one or
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Either one.
Yeah, I'm ready. For the spring one, I am just an attendee, so
Okay.
I have no preparation. I just need to get there. That's all.
Yeah.
And like my excitement is just listening to your presentation
Thanks,
and the main stage and so on. So yeah, I'm very excited for that.
Well, you could be speaking. So I mean, you could have been a speaker. I don't know why you're not, but I guess you didn't submit. Maybe. Can you tell people who you are and
Yes.
what you do?
Hi everybody. My name is Tadaya Tsuyukubo. I work for VMware, but not in the Spring team. I actually work for the VMware Cloud team, which is since it's a VMware is a big company, there are multiple business group, and I work for the VMware Cloud team. And writing the at the end we use Spring Boot to build the cloud infrastructure from the Spring as a VMware product.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So that's my day-to-day job side. And for the open source side, I am the author of the Data Source Proxy and R2DBC Proxy and Data Source Micrometer project.
So what is the Data Source Proxy?
Okay, so the Data Source Proxy.
By the way, actually, wait. Sorry. What is VMware Cloud?
VMware Cloud.
What do they do? I just work here. Nobody tells me anything. I don't know.
Yeah, so VMware is very much enterprise-oriented company. So from the outside, like probably I don't know now, but like if 10 years ago, if you hear about the VMware, usually the virtual desktop, like VMware Fusion, that's the impression for the outside of the company, like what people usually think about the VMware. But VMware actually provides the enterprise solution to the so many companies in the world, all over the world. And our strategy now is like is a virtualization. And the target was let's say data center, your company's data center. And you will have you set up the data center and you put the machines there. Then that hardware is done. Now you want to utilize all the resources you put in the data center. Then in order to utilize those machines, you want to virtualize all the bare metal machines. Right? Then the VMware is a company providing those virtualization so that the once you set up the hardware on top of it, then we will provide a virtualized solution so that you can use your hardware more efficiently, and you can manage those hardware resources and so on. Then nowadays, it is not only the data center. Now all the cloud is available. Then you want to now manage the data center and all the cloud infrastructure in the same way.
Same control plane.
Yes. So that is how the enterprise area, like VMware solution, is providing. So
I see. So it's not like it's a unified control plane.
Yes.
So I can treat both my data center and my in the cloud
it's a
infrastructure as the
hybrid
same thing.
cloud. Yes.
I get one view.
Yes. So
I didn't. I knew that. I was just testing him.
yeah, it's a very different from the what you might have some impression about the VMware.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's really cool. Okay, and that's good. I didn't. So okay, I knew about the open source stuff. I didn't know what you did for the day job. Actually, it was kind of a surprise to me to learn that you actually worked at VMware. It's a small.
Yeah.
The Spring community is very small, and usually we're not very lucky to have everybody. Like it would be very convenient if everybody in the Spring community was at the same company, right? But no, we have people all around the world and all sorts of different countries and all sorts of different companies doing different things. I'm just glad that you are on the same Slack.
Yeah. Actually, that's a very helpful for me as well.
Yeah.
Like I can have a direct conversation with the Spring team members, and I am also a long-time user of the Spring ecosystem and also the contributor of the Spring. Like I remember, I started using Spring from when it was 1.1 or 1.2, even before the Spring Framework 2. So it was, it's like, I don't know, 2003, 4, 5, like that time.
long time
ago. And I really learned a lot from the Spring Framework and the source code. So I'm really lucky to have some conversation with the people from the Spring team.
I say the feeling is mutual, my friend. But you do bring up a great point. Did you see the Spring 1 history of Spring?
Oh yeah, actually I saw you mean the go to the web page.
It looks like Mario Brothers maybe or something.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen it, dear audience, spring1.io /history-of-spring. It's awesome. You've got to try it. It's really cool. So anyway, so the 20 years, we celebrated 20 years this year. Some personal behind the scenes baseball here. My partner and I just bought our kid a car so that she can drive in Los Angeles where she's going to go for college, and she's 18. So when you talk about when you and I talk about using Spring back in 2000,
oh wow,
3, 4, 5, that was a couple of years before she was born, and now she's driving a car.
Wow.
It's wow, that makes me feel very old. But
me too.
Yeah, that's weird. That's weird. Anyway, So the Spring has been around forever, and it has, I think, very usefully evolved to handle new problems, new challenges, new scenarios. And one thing I love about it is that it is production worthy. And so there are two things. These are two things that are, that have inspired two very important advances in the last several years. One is our observability story. That's a huge part of being production worthy.
Yes.
And the other one is reactive programming. And so actually, I first heard of you not from the data source proxy, but from R2DBC Proxy. So what is data source proxy?
So data source proxy. It is old project I started. Like I don't even remember when I started, but maybe about more than 10 years ago. But at the time there was no reactive programming yet. But database existed, and when you are writing the application, most of the time you will use the JDBC to interact with your data source or database. Then the
JDBC it's taken me many years, but I quite like it.
It's a very stable technology.
Very good.
Yeah, it hasn't changed so much.
I was writing code with it using the JDBC template in Spring, and that just feels as elegant as anything, especially now that we have multi-line strings in Java. It is really pleasant to just sit there and write a few queries and use the role mapper, and anyway, go on.
But from the data source proxy level, it's even the JDBC template is a higher level. But anyway, so what the data source proxy provides? What is a data source proxy? So basically, it provides it creates a proxy on your data source instance.
Right.
Then it will provide a callback API for your interaction to the database.
Right.
So what does it mean is, for example, many of the use case is logging. So when you are writing application, you want to log what what query you have run in your business logic and so on. So at the time, well, it's very sounds like very simple to do because the when you execute the query, just write the whatever query you're
Yeah.
writing. But if you look into the very detail of the JDBC, it's not so that simple. JDBC API, it's a spec, like
Right.
it defines how to access your database, and the way it is written or it is placed is first you have a data source, and you will get the connection from the data source. Then on the connection, you will create a statement, which is
Right.
either the statement
Or
or the
prepared statement.
mostly prepared statement or
Right.
callable statement. Then from on that statement, we will give the like what query you want to run. Then many of the time it is a parameterized query, right? Like you don't want to set the embed your actual value of the query
Right.
there. You will have say select users from ID equal question mark.
Right.
So this is a parameterized query. Then when you run such query,
Yeah.
you have to bind the value to the statement. Or the set integer, set string.
Yeah.
The index 2 is a name foo or whatever. Then if it is a batch statement, then you will add a batch. Then you will provide another set of the parameters and so on. Then finally, you can call the execute query to really run the query.
Right.
But at the time,
So the prepared statement is the only thing that has the SQL string so
yes,
far.
yes. Then you may think, oh, okay, just I intercept the execute query method
Right.
and get everything. But actually, no, execute query is just a one statement. It doesn't have any parameter or anything. So the query or setting up the statement with the query or parameters are multiple steps before happening on the executing query.
Oh wow.
So then after that, you will get the result set, and the result set you will for loop kind of iterate through it to retrieve the whatever data.
While
you
result
return.
set has next.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then you have to close the result set statement connection and so on. So these are the procedures. So
it's very hard to figure out where to put yourself
yes.
to get access to the string.
Yeah.
Unvarnished,
Yes. So then when you want to write a log about the executing query, then you have to get all the information in order to do it.
Yeah.
So what the data source proxy does is that the proxy logic basically keeps track of the contextual information about your execution, your query execution. So this query I am executing, and these are the actual parameter values. It is bound to this query,
Right.
and whether this is a batch query or not, or what type of statement it is, or how long it took to.
Oh, that's right. Because if it's batch, it has to get.
Yes. Yeah.
Multiple
You have
rows.
multiple parameters. Then that such information that data source proxy will keep track of and keeps those information. Then on the callback method, callback API, it will provide those contextual data as
Right.
part of the parameter to the callback API, so that you can use those information to, let's say, create a log. Then you will have all the access to what the actual query and the actual parameter and so on.
Wow. Wait, does this work for every driver or just certain ones?
So the good thing is this is API. The JDBC is API. Everything is the interface.
Sure, but
so actual database, the database vendor provides a driver.
Right.
So they implement JDBC API. So the data source proxy is kind of delegating the itself is seen as a JDBC API, but also delegating the actual execution to the drivers.
Right, but do you have to, in order to get access to the SQL string, for example, do you have to know anything about the intricate details of the implementation?
No, those are the basically the spec from the JDBC.
Okay, so you literally are just creating like an actual
Yeah, just putting more logic
Proxy.
around. Yeah, proxying around.
Are you creating a proxy handler, or do you have like
Proxy handler, yes.
actual classes?
Proxy handler.
Yeah.
Since this is all the interfaces,
Right.
you can just use
Easy.
the JDK proxy.
Those are very convenient too.
Yeah, and actually you can do. There is the data source proxy differentiate how to create a proxy and the actual proxy logic in a separate way. So if you want, you can use different proxy mechanism.
Like CGLib?
Yeah, CGLib or Byte or whatever. You can create a concrete class instead.
Oh, concrete. Okay, so that's good for AOT. I imagine. Do we have support for using concrete classes, like generating at compile time?
Actually, I haven't really looked at it.
We should try that today. Let's write some code later. Oh, that's gonna be easy. Have you tried the AOT compile?
Actually, I remember I did something for the native, but rather than that, I just added some hint for the reflection.
Yeah.
Then
okay. We should work on the. We should try generating the proxies later. Okay, so that's awesome. So the data source proxy, that's been around forever.
Yeah.
Supports JDBC, which is of course super popular. I mean, JDBC, everyone's using JDBC. Even, and this is the thing, if you're using regular JDBC, like I tend to do, or maybe MyBetas. Do you ever use MyBetas?
I haven't used it, but I know what it is. Yeah.
MyBetas is also very SQL centric, right?
Yes.
What about Java OQ? OQ. Object-oriented query language, Java.
No.
Those are all very SQL centric, right? So it's, well, Java OQ is about type safe Java operators that look like SQL. But JPA, it's very easy to forget that you have a SQL data. Same thing for Spring Data JDBC, unless you write your own custom queries. So it's very hard to remember that you've got JDBC sometimes. And I think the data source proxy is useful no matter what, but it's even more useful at the high levels when you're so far above the SQL state.
Yeah, it's a very low level. It's in a way similar to the like connection pooling, like that layer, because connection pooling is similar to, like, it is from outside it's being seen as a JDBC, but it delegates do the connection pooling and delegates to the actual driver data source.
Right. Well, so what you created the JDBC proxy. What is the original use case though?
So original use case was for me it was creating a log.
A logging
with the actual parameter.
I see.
But actually it is that was my original usage, but also it was expanded. Like it can now since the contextual information has more information, you can use it for the many other usage. Like actually it's very cut out for the doing the observability. So for example, you can do some metrics around it, or it provides the callback for the whatever interaction happened, so that you can create a distributed tracing, like create a span, like when the connection is acquired, start a span. Then when closed it, then that's a connection span.
Yeah.
Or the executing the query, it is creating the one span, and the end of it closing the span, and so on.
Wow. So, okay. Well, so this seems very useful to me for all sorts of other stuff too. Like you could do like change data capture, like Debezium. Debezium looks at the write ahead log. It's very specific for Postgres and certain other databases. But basically, you publish events on a Kafka broker. Whenever you see new data in the log, right? With this, you could say,
you can kind of intercept it. And,
whenever there's a write,
you
publish a message.
Yeah, from outside of the upper layer, it is writing to the database, interacting the JDBC, but actually it can do something else.
Yeah, you can
send a message to somewhere.
Exactly. You can have an event listener, right?
Yeah.
So that seems very interesting as well. Could you use to create a connection pool?
Connection right now, the API for the data source proxy is mainly listening based, so it doesn't really do the change the original behavior.
Right.
But a connection pool,
could somebody build a connection pool?
Possibly, like when you do the get connection, like instead of like it can have some logic to handle it.
Yeah, to look for one that's already open. Okay, that's amazing. Okay, so very useful. What are some of the coolest use cases? Like, what are people doing with it? You know,
So then the recent usage is
don't tell me anything private. Just whatever you can tell me that's public.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, it's for the observability basically.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
So in the Spring Boot 2 era,
2017
yeah.
and onward. Yeah.
Observability is provided by the Spring Cloud
Sleuth. Yeah.
Yes. So that Sleuth is the one centric to providing all the instrumentation of the observability
Right.
in the Spring Boot applications. Then
so that was Spring Cloud Sleuth, which depends on Spring Cloud, which depends on Spring Boot, which depends on Spring Framework, which depends on Micrometer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Micrometer is for the new. Well, yeah. So the actually Spring Cloud Sleuth for the JDBC instrumentation.
Right.
In order to create those spans and so on, they will instrument the data source. Then in the implementation, the Spring Cloud Sleuth for the JDBC instrumentation, there are two implementations. One is using the data source proxy, and one is using a P6 spy. So you can actually choose it, but basically doing the same thing and instrument the data source and using the host callback, and that will create observation.
What's the difference between P6 spy and
P6 spy? I think that also has some API to interact, like interact with the JDBC API. You can put some logic on it.
Would I use them both for the same sort of use cases?
I think so.
Oh, cool. Okay. Because I've heard of both. I just didn't think about it too often. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a kind of low level. But so if you're using the Spring Cloud Sleuth and if you're instrumenting the data source,
instrumentation is hard.
Yeah, like either one of them should be used. But that is actually already passed.
Yeah.
So now we are in the era of the Spring Boot 3.
Right.
So one of the key feature of the Spring Boot 3 the ecosystem is now the observability is provided out of the box from the Spring ecosystem.
Right.
So you don't need to do the instrumentation by yourself. For example, Spring Framework itself or the Spring Boot, they have the observability capability provided out of the box. So, for example, if you're using the REST template or the Spring MVC or Webflux, then the REST template web client, it is a client-side remote call. It is already it creates an observation.
Right.
And for the server side, Web MVC,
Webflux,
they create the observation.
Same thing for OpenFeign and Square Retrofit.
Yes. So they are using the Micrometer observation API, which was introduced in the Micrometer 110.
Yeah.
And
Spring Boot 3.
Yeah. So that's a foundation for the observability story for the Spring Boot 3.
Right.
So now since the Spring ecosystem is providing the observability out of the box, then the instrumentation, the focus is slightly, like the way to do is slightly shifted. So before the Spring Cloud Sleuth was the one doing all the instrumentation, but since Boot 3, there is no Spring Cloud Sleuth for the Boot 3. It's only for the Boot 2. Right. And for the Boot 3 work,
because Sleuth did distributed tracing, Micrometer did metrics. Mm-hmm. They were on top of the stack, very bottom of the stack. Yeah. Now in 3.0, you can do both in
the one observation API. Right. So observation API basically abstracted all the observation. Like when you give the action to that observation API, then it will automatically observe it. And what the observe means, it's up to the implementation of the handler, but in general, it will create metrics, and also it will create the traces and and so on.
So this is good for distributed systems interaction.
Yes,
but
it's a long story. Sorry for that.
No. So what happens with
the
political statement?
Yes. So the instrumentation. So somebody needs to do the instrumentation for the database,
right?
JDBC. But JDBC is just a spec, and the implementations are the kind of like vendor specific, like database. Each database provides the drivers. Then the last year basically the the Spring Boot 3 GA about 1 year ago.
Oh no, don't say that. It makes me feel. You know what? It came out November 24th.
Oh, okay, on 24th.
Yeah, 2022. That's because it's Thanksgiving here in the United States.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so I work with I tied to the collaborated with the Micrometer team.
You're almost. You know, you're right though. It is almost a year. It's August already. Stop.
So I work with them. Then I started the data source micrometer project, which is database instrumentation.
Oh, okay.
Using the Micrometer observability observation API,
right?
Using the data source proxy of the call.
Wait, but so we skipped a bit, didn't we? What happened to the R2DBC stuff?
Oh yes,
R2DBC. Before we get ahead to Spring Boot 3, for many years you've had this thing called R2DBC Proxy, which is, I think, would be more difficult to build.
Yes. So basically, in the simple world, it is conceptually same as data source proxy, but for the R2DBC,
which is the reactive
version of the.
It's not JDBC, but it's like JDBC. It's an API for working with SQL using reactive types, publishers, so on.
Yeah, React. So if you're using a reactive programming, because before the R2DBC, there was no way for the like accessing database in non-blocking fashion, unless the database driver provides the reactive version.
Right.
But there was no unified like spec for that.
Right.
So the R2DBC, I remember that was I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. The spring one, the Ben Hale, I think he did some session about the.
He's the one who launched that thing.
Yes.
Mark Baluk and many others made it great as well, obviously, but it started all there.
So then when I saw it, then I knew the how I did for the data source proxy in the JDBC.
Yeah.
So having similar in the R2DBC is also beneficial.
Very much so.
Yeah. So that's why I was involved in the R2DBC community and wrote the R2DBC proxy.
How painful was that? Because you have to deal with all these like non-blocking.
It's
threads and all that.
Yes, the reactive programming. This is for the first time doing it, so I learned a lot. Right?
Your first time, you're already building a proxy.
Yeah.
Against other high-speed databases. Wait, so was the Reactor context API there, or did you use something else to perpetuate data across thread boundaries?
I think that was there. The reactor was there. Then the
context object.
Yeah, context object was there at the time. And but the context object, the R2DBC proxy, it supports it, but that's slightly added later.
Okay.
The good thing is the R2DBC or Reactor community is very supportive, and we had many champions.
That's so cool.
Great.
That's
great experience.
And so did the Spring Cloud Sleuth use that for the reactive stuff?
Actually, I don't know about it. I'm not sure. I haven't checked how the R2DBC.
It's magic. I'm sure it works. Okay. Yeah. So now fast forward, and that R2DBC proxy, that was 2017 and later.
Yeah.
So now fast forward to 2022, 5 years later. That's last year. Spring Boot 3.
Mm-hmm. For the so for the JDBC side, so there is I always forget about the name, but data source micrometer project basically provides the instrumentation for the observability observation using the Micrometer observation API. Then actually here funny, well, not funny, but a good thing is the observability is Micrometer observation API. So Micrometer is independent from the Spring framework, right? Like Micrometer is used by not only the Spring, but also many other frameworks. They use the Micrometer for the metrics or
large database. I think Neo4j, RabbitMQ. I mean, lots of projects use it for drivers. So which is good because you get it for free just by using the driver.
So just using the observation is not limited to the Spring. As long as you use the Micrometer observation API, you can use it for the non-Spring project as well.
Right.
So the data source Micrometer project, I created the two modules. One, I separated the Spring part, Spring Boot part, and the core part. The core part is using the data source proxy and the Micrometer observation.
Right.
And that doesn't involve any Spring. So you can use that part to installment any application, even it is not using Spring. You can use the Micrometer observation to installment your data source.
Instrumentation of anything, whether it's using Spring or not. That's really cool.
Yeah. Then the Spring Boot is basically the how can I say the integration with that.
Glue code, maybe.
Yeah. So it's just for the data source Micrometer Spring Boot module. Basically, it provides the auto configuration. So what that means is if you are writing the Spring Boot application, just add the dependency of that module of the library, then it will automatically installment the JDBC.
That's awesome.
So that's the beauty of the Spring Boot auto configuration.
And so that means that I can now. So I saw that somebody, Brian Clozone, maybe somebody just added JMS.
Yeah.
Instrumentation as well. So now like you can do instrumentation not just from service to service using Kafka or REST or GraphQL. I think GraphQL works. I don't know, probably. Sure. But not just you can do like it's not just network boundary, right? So we mentioned Feign. There's Webflux and WebMVC and the REST template and the web client and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And there's also Kafka and RabbitMQ.
Yeah.
But it's not just that now. Now you can also do SQL databases and JMS as well.
So more and more as the observation support comes, then the entire ecosystem will be observable.
Oh, that's so good. Because you don't know where something is going to spend time, unless you can see where it's been, how long it's spent there.
Yes.
Well, this is really cool. I mean, so if people want to go, if I go to start.spring.io and I go here, start Spring.io, what is that? Data source? How do is it over?
I guess
it's I just add the micrometer bit. Oh, if I just add actuator, I can't type. If I just add actuator, that give me the observability stuff, right? And then I can do, I don't know, if I try using JDBC and maybe that brings something in. I don't know. And then choose a driver. It might work. Who knows? Otherwise, you can just add the dependency manually.
Yes.
But if you just have it in the class path, will the auto configuration in Spring Boot kick in?
Yes. As long as you use a regular data source. Yeah.
Postgres or MySQL or something like that. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. So cool. Where do they send this information?
So it's the back end of the observability, the tracing back end.
Right.
By default, I think
like OpenZipkin or something.
Yeah, Zipkin. For the micrometer tracing side, Zipkin and the Hotel is supported.
Right. So there's also you can do metrics as well, right?
Yes.
And if you want to really cause trouble for yourself, you use a timescale, which is a time series database built on Postgres, to store the metrics associated with the use of Postgres. So the more you use the time series database to store the metrics, the more you need to observe, and therefore you create more metrics, which needs to be observed. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is don't use a SQL database to store the data captured from your use of a SQL database, or you'll end up in a circle forever, creating new data.
More data generated.
Right, great, but it could be fun. I don't know. It'd be one funny bug once you figure it out, but only once you figure it out. It would be terrible in the meantime. This is so cool. So what's the? I guess you worked with the observability team and worked on the observability team for a bit. That was like, how did you find that experience?
Oh, so it was really great, and especially the VMware where there is some program called Take 3.
Take 3.
Yeah, which you can work for the different team for 3 months.
Oh, that's why it's called
Yeah,
three.
take 3. So that's as long as the each managers agree and developer agree what to do and so on. So that's why since I didn't have like enough time to write the
whole thing by
the whole
yourself.
thing. Yes. So
Open source.
yeah, I talked to the observability team and the manager. Then we set up this Take 3 program and
Wow.
made it happen last year.
That's really, really cool. That's really, I love that. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, that's internal, but yeah, it's a great collaboration.
So the cooperation part is important. Like most of what we on the Spring team do is open source. I mean, like you can see what we're doing every day, even though we work at VMware. You can see our what we're thinking about by looking at GitHub, right? Where are these projects? Like, how do the people send pull requests? Where do they go? For the observability stuff, I guess for Micrometer, that's in the Micrometer IO org.
So I actually created the JDBC observations GitHub organization.
Right.
So the data source proxy is there, and also the data source micrometer project is under that organization. So it's not a micrometer, but yeah, just I came up with the JDBC observations.
You should call it database observations and then put the R2DBC proxy in there too.
Yeah, that's true. Because right now the R2DBC proxy is part of the R2DBC
organization. Right. Okay, never mind. That's good. That works.
But yeah, it's open. So anything you find the issue or questions, you can create some GitHub issue there.
Wow, that's so cool. Yeah. And it works just out of the box. Just add that to your dependency. Is it managed by the Spring Boot bomb? Bill of materials.
R2DBC proxy, yes.
Okay.
But for the JDBC observation, no, not yet. Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, that's not a big deal. Are you online?
Yes.
Do you want to be found? And if so, where do people find you?
So I haven't really using the Twitter for like.
That's because you're smart. Don't be like me.
Yeah, but I have a same handle for the GitHub and the Twitter, which is TTDDYY.
So TDY, but times 2. So TT.
Yeah, because my name is Tadaya, TADAYA. So I just picked the consonant TTDDYY.
Oh yeah, I like it. So and then so you're at TTDDYY.
Yes.
You have a website. Anything else I should point to people to? Did you write a book? Is there something?
I have a blog, but it's like a long time. I don't remember when was that.
Well, okay. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Oh, no, thank you. This has been fun. I just want people to know how, like, it's one of those things where if you don't even think to look for it, you don't know it exists. But there's just this amazing community of people like you who make the Spring observability story, and just Spring in general even better. Yeah, really great. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much.